Bueno, listos, estamos de regreso. Mike DiMuccio es diamante real, embajador real. Es una persona que empezó a hacer este negocio cuando tenía 20 y pocos años y no necesariamente empezó a hacer el negocio buscándolo, sino que la vida se lo topó y a consecuencia de eso empezó a desarrollar el negocio y tiene de las organizaciones más grandes a nivel mundial. Es una persona que ha estudiado muchísimo, es una persona que tiene una energía que impacta a otras personas y que saca de los seres humanos lo mejor de cada uno. Él vive en Canadá y él abrió Nikken en Canadá. Y cuando abrió Nikken en Canadá, se enfrentó a todo tipo de adversidades que cualquier persona hubiera abortado la misión y dejado el proyecto. Sin embargo, Mike, a sus 20 y pocos años, es una persona que buscó el cómo sí, buscó la manera de salir adelante de esos problemas, de trabajar en equipo, porque este negocio es imposible hacerlo solo. Ante estas adversidades y ante la garra que tiene para sobrellevarlas, es que gracias a eso, después de abrir Canadá, se vino a abrir México. Y en México estuvo trabajando sin saber el idioma y 20 y tantos años después tiene la organización que tiene a nivel mundial. Es una persona que empezó muy joven y que el impacto que puede tener hasta el día de hoy no es nada conforme al impacto que puede tener en los próximos 20 años. Latinoamérica somos una región que necesita y requiere de oportunidades para todas las edades, para hombres y mujeres, para jóvenes y adultos. Y la plática de Mike nos cae muy bien a los latinoamericanos. Esta es una plática que yo he escuchado, yo creo que más de 7 veces y siempre aprendo algo nuevo. Yo les pido que pongan toda su atención. Es una plática que no les va a servir nada más para el negocio, sea el negocio este o cualquier otro que hagan. Es una plática que les va a servir para la vida, como personas. Y eso es algo que yo valoro muchísimo de Mike. Tengo el gran privilegio de contar con él como mentor. Él me ha ayudado a llegar profesionalmente a donde he llegado y le agradezco muchísimo que vuelva a venir a México, que esté con nosotros y se los dejo con ustedes para que de veras pongan toda su atención porque es realmente una joya. Muchas gracias, Mike.
Gracias. How many of you have heard me present the law of attraction before? Okay, quite a few of you. Well, that's great. I find that every time I present it, it's a little different. And I'm always learning, so you might hear something different, something new, or maybe something you heard before will get in a little bit deeper into your subconscious mind. I want to thank Veronica and her team for putting this event together. It's always a packed house. I'm so thrilled to be here for the second time in about a year's time. So thank you for coming. Thank you, Veronica and your team. So if you wouldn't mind helping me thank them. I want to also thank the translators in advance because they have a tough job. I want to thank Bo Tanis for joining Nikken on my second day in Nikken. You can say I had a really good week that week. I sponsored Bruce Black, and the very next day, Bo Tanis joined. I want to thank Luis Kasuga for doing such an amazing job as a managing director for Nikken. And more than that, I think he's become somebody who's respected and admired around the world of Nikken. So as a person, as a leader, in honor and recognition of his incredible leadership from the corporate side, I want to give him a hand as well. Thank you. I've had the benefit of learning for many, many years different subjects that somehow all converge and have become what I now refer to as the law of attraction, what I like to speak about. I've had a lot of mentors over the years who have made an incredible impact, not on me, but on thousands of people around the world, one of which I had the privilege of having dinner with a couple of weeks ago, my mentor, Bob Proctor, who's been a huge influence in what I've learned and what I've studied. I've read countless books, and I never used to be a reader. So you need to know that. I was a singer, not a reader. But when I got involved in Nikken, everything started to change in my life. Because Nikken is not just a business, it's a way of life. And it encompasses every aspect of your life. There's nothing that it doesn't touch. And one of the first things that I became fascinated by is the concepts of success, because it was behooving on me to teach this. If I was going to ever have a large organization, I would have to learn how to do something and teach others how to do it. And so a great deal of my time, I would develop tools, training systems. Because as an engineer, my background is aerospace engineering. As an engineer, to be an engineer and to be an aerospace engineer means you have a mind that works a certain way. You can see a problem and you can see the solution rather quickly. You can see patterns and interpret that and understand the mechanisms. A plus B equals C. You start to understand how things work. And so my fascination from as young as I can remember about how everything works. How does it rain? How does the moon go around the earth? And how does Captain Kirk get to fly at warp 8? All of these things were things that I wanted to understand as a kid growing up. I wanted to know how the universe worked. I wanted to know how everything worked. And that's how an engineering mind operates. And so I was able to take a lot of the information in from the mindset of an engineer. I would try and understand what I was doing in my business that was working for me so that I could teach others to do it so that it would hopefully work for them. That was the key to duplication. And so I say this because I developed probably the best training systems ever in Nikken that you can't buy today, that are not even available today, because I learned something in the process. No matter how good the training was, it was always limited by the person, not by the training. And so unless you develop the people, the best training in the world doesn't matter. You can have the best car, the fastest, fanciest, most beautiful car in the world sitting there to drive, but it's only going to go as good as the driver behind the wheel. And so we have this incredible business called Nikken. It's the Ferrari of business. It's got the most amazing engine. It performs every time. And yet, it'll only go as fast and as far as the driver's capable of taking it. It will only be able to turn those turns and make that thing do what it does so well based on the level of skill of the driver, which is you. And so a lot of my mind shifted toward helping people grow as people so that they could become better drivers of not just the Nikken opportunity, which is really a metaphor for life, so that they become better drivers of life. Well, this research led me into religion, because surely in religion we're taught that all the things that you need to know and learn are all in the stories of the books, the religious texts. And I went way beyond the normal religion. I went way beyond Catholic, Muslim, Judaism. I went into some pretty interesting stuff that predates all of those religions, Zoroaster and so forth. But all those things also spoke to me in the language of science. In fact, the thing that I found a perfect marriage was the stories or the metaphors and quantum physics. They're saying the same thing in a different way. Quantum physics is a language of scientist to scientist, but religion is a language of people to people. But the principles are the same. And what was really important to me as an engineer, as a scientist, as someone who really wanted to be able to teach people truth, was I needed to understand the truth. What is the truth? How can you teach if you don't know what you're teaching? You need to know what you're teaching. And so the search, the quest for truth became my life's work. And Nikken is the vehicle through which I'm able to experience that work in reality. See the effects of that work through the tangible, measurable results that other people are getting. And that's what I love about being involved in the business that I'm involved in, is that I can tell whether or not what I'm doing is working pretty quickly, because it shows up on the 15th of the following month. It's called a check. And if your check isn't good, you need to look in the mirror and figure out what you're not doing well and reevaluate. But I can tell you this, what I'm going to share with you today is the sum total. This presentation would take hours to really get into. This is just sort of the surface of it, and I'll give you glimpses of it. And those of you who've heard it before, you'll probably hear something new. But the law of attraction is so beautiful because it is a law. It's like gravity. I believe that the creator of this universe created according to laws and never veers from those laws. The laws are the MO, the modus operandi of the creator. So gravity is one of those laws. It's a fundamental force, a thing that we can work with. But if you don't understand gravity, or if you misinterpret gravity, it could be a problem. So for instance, you could say, but Mike, I'm a really good person. So if I step off of this 10-story building, nothing should happen to me. Only bad people should have a problem, right? That would be confusing a law with morality. And I find that religion does that quite a bit. It confuses morality with the law, the principle of the matter. And so, obviously, if I step off a 10-story building, I'm going to fall because gravity is at work, whether I'm a good person or not. It has nothing to do with whether I'm a good person. It's whether I understand the law and whether I'm utilizing the law correctly. And stepping off a 10-story building is not a good use of the law. But if I had a waterfall cascading 10 stories and I put a generator at the bottom, I could harness the power of that fall, turn a turbine, and create electricity. That's good use of the law. So the law gives us the means through which we can create. Otherwise, we feel like something is happening to us and we feel like a victim. If I stepped off a building and hurt myself really bad, and then I blamed the building, that wouldn't make much sense, would it? So how many of us in life point the finger at things instead of where it belongs for the results in our life? Whether it's money, whether it's health, it's easy for us to find blame in others or blame in the system. And that's somebody who doesn't understand the law. The law is the law. It's always at work, 100% of the time for everyone, all the time. Even for the person getting sick. I think there's a biblical passage that says something, to them that have not, more will be taken from them. For them that have, more will be given unto them. You might think, that's not fair. If they don't have, we should be giving it to them. It shouldn't be taken more away from them. It's a law. They have created for themselves what Luis was talking about earlier today. There's a difference between survival consciousness and prosperity consciousness. To them who have not, more will be taken away, because it's the law. They're operating according to a law that is continuing to do what it does, more of what you're doing. If negative is what you're doing, negative is what you're getting, more negative is going to be coming. If positive is what you're doing, positive is going to be coming back. And the positive being, in this case, prosperity. So if you're thinking of abundance, you're going to have more abundance. And more abundance is going to come to you. It's just a law. It's not because you're a good person or a bad person, or there's a Santa Claus out in outer space named God with a white beard saying, oh, you're a good person. I'm going to let you have money and not you. I don't like you. We have this idea that there's this creator out there punishing us individually for something we did. Now, some of you are parents. I'm a parent. When you look at your kids and they do something foolish and you know it was foolish and maybe in hindsight they realize it was foolish, do you blame them for not knowing what they don't know? They don't know what they don't know. Even Jesus, when he was on the cross, he said, Father, forgive them, for they know not what they do. He didn't say, Father, punish every one of these SOBs. So I'm saying all this because there's a lot of ideas that move us. There's a lot of ideas that cause us to be who we're being, act the way we're acting, think the way we're thinking, feel the way we're feeling. And a lot of these ideas, they're not even your own. They're ideas that were given to you. And we just adopt them. We wear them like clothes. And then if somebody tries to take it off, say, no, this is mine. Even if it's a lousy idea. We hold on to our ideas because we identify ourselves with the idea rather than the principle, which is you're a human being first before you're anything else on this planet. Before you're a father, before you're a mother, before you're a son, before you're a daughter, before you're a teacher, before you're a student, before you're a lawyer, before you're a doctor, before you're an employee, before you're a business owner, before you're a friend, before you're a betrayer, before you're any of these things, you're a human being first. But what were you before that? What's animating that body of yours? What's creating the physical matter that you are occupying? There's an energy there. So we're going to talk about that because it all comes together. Back in let me back up again. Back in I think it was, the date is right on this slide, so let's see, 66, February 2nd, 1966. There's a guy named Baxter who's in his laboratory in New York City. He actually works for the CIA doing the testing that they put, they put electrodes on you. They call it a polygraph. They test whether you're lying or not. And if you're lying, the polygraph goes like this. You react, and you can't hide that reaction because the body responds. And even though your mind might be saying something, the body's still reacting, and you can't really fool a lie detector unless you're extremely skilled and have had years of practice. So the average person would fail a lie detector if they lied. So he's doing this work in his laboratory, and he has this crazy idea to put the lie detector on a plant. Have you ever heard the idea that you can talk to a plant? And maybe the plant will grow better? True? I don't know, it'd be interesting to find out. So anyway, so he decides he's going to do this one day. So he puts the lie detector on the leaf of a plant, and he starts talking to the plant and trying to get some kind of a reaction going. And nothing is happening. This plant is simply not reacting. Then all of a sudden, he was standing about 15 feet away from the plant. All of a sudden, he has an idea. He's inspired by an idea. And we know the plant heard. The moment he heard the idea, the plant heard it too. So nothing's going on all this time, and then all of a sudden, kaboom! The plant goes and reacts violently. You know what the idea was? The idea was that he was going to burn the leaf of the plant. So he just had an idea. He didn't have a match in his hand. He just had an idea pop into his head. And not only did he get excited about it, so did the plant. Now, how is it possible that this plant could conceive of danger, a threat? Because until now, he tried doing all kinds of things, threatening the plant and whatever, didn't react. But the moment he had this inspired idea, the plant reacted. What was different? Besides the fact that the plant reacted, what was different was his idea was inspired. he was really into his idea. When he was doing this stuff, pretending to excite the plant, it was a pretend. It wasn't real. His energy was not aligned. His thoughts, his feelings, his actions were not consistent. So there was no force in that energy. There was no power in that energy. But when the idea was inspired, you know how you feel when you're inspired. How do you feel? Notice I'm using the word feel. I don't say how do you think. I say how do you feel when you're inspired. All of a sudden a feeling comes over you. That's high energy. It's flowing through you. And then if you take an action in the same alignment with that energy, you're going to have power. So I'm talking about this because this business that we're in is a business of attracting people. You want to attract an organization. Well, it seems to me that if the goal is to attract people into your organization and to teach people how to do that, then knowing something about the law of attraction would be pretty useful information. And so that's why I like to teach this, because I found that this is one of the most exciting and informative things that I could teach and learn how to do better, how to attract things into my life, people into my life, circumstances into my life. But being a scientist, being an engineer, I needed to know that it wasn't just a passage in a Bible that sounds good, makes me feel good, but it doesn't actually do anything. I needed to know it was real. So I put this to the test myself. But here to this example is a leaf that reacts. A leaf. Does the leaf have consciousness? Yes, it does. How else could it react? How could it react to an idea in somebody else's mind? How about this one? Because there is only ever one mind. How many of you believe in the concept of God? Quite a few of you. Well, they say God is infinite. This infinite power, right? Well, if God is infinite, then can you exist outside of God if God is infinite? Can the leaf exist outside of God if God is infinite? So therefore, everything exists inside of this thing we call God. So if you prick me over here, I'll feel it over there. What you say unto my brother, you say unto me. I know every hair on your head. All those concepts you've heard through theology and whatever, they're saying the same thing. We're all connected. Everything is connected. The fabric of the universe. What makes a leaf is the atoms of the leaf. What makes the atoms are just, they're organized a little different than our atoms, but they're atoms. And what makes the atom an atom is energy. And this energy has a source. And so it all stems back to one source, one energy, one mind, one concept, individualizing itself as you and you and you and you and me and the leaf and the dog and the tree and the house and so forth. This idea is expressing itself an infinite number of ways, as a sun, as a moon, as everything you can point your finger at. And so all of a sudden this leaf appears to have consciousness. Well, I can tell you that there were many studies done since. And there's a book I would encourage you to read called The Intention Experiment, where they actually had a leaf. On one continent, it was in Boston, Massachusetts, at MIT University, in a materials, what they call a mu cage. It was shielded from electromagnetic energy. They put a plant in this mechanism. They had observers able to see the plant. On the other side, over in England, they collected a group of people, scientists, in a lab, but some of these were known to have psychic ability, enhanced ability to project their thoughts and intentions. They were given instruction to imagine the leaf at MIT University glowing, just to imagine it. And with that vivid imagination and good intention behind that, the observers in MIT University were able to observe the leaf glow. How is that possible if we are not connected? If energy goes through time and space, that it's all present all at the same time, that everything is one and it's all connected, pretending to be separate and apart. Now, this is really important because if that's true, that means everything that I wish to attract, I'm already connected to. Everything. You name it, I'm connected to it. Anything that's in the known universe, even things that you can only imagine in your mind. So, can we prove this? Is there ways to go further into this? And there certainly is. We have another doctor by the name of Emoto. He's in Japan. And he was studying water. And he was studying what happens to the water if we think thoughts on the water. Or if we expose the water to music. Or if we expose the water to words. Just words. Because you know, a word, you have to construct it. That means you're putting energy into something. You're creating a word. You've created something from nothing. You've created a word. Word has energy. Love is a word. Hate is a word. They don't have the same energy. And we can see that when we actually expose the water and then we image the water under a magnascope. We can see that compassion causes the water to turn this, thank you to that, wisdom to that. You fool, I will kill you, heavy metal music. Amazing, isn't it? Look at this one. The water before the prayer, the water after the prayer. Have you ever been taught you should pray before you eat? Maybe you should. Maybe it does have an effect. Apparently so. Apparently it does have an effect. Here's something to consider. How much of your body is water? 70-80% of your body is water. So if I think a thought about you, is your body not reacting? And then you wonder why somebody feels a certain way about you. They feel good about you, they don't feel good about you. And here's the thing about that leaf was on the other side of the world. You could be thinking a thought about somebody on the other side of the world. They're reacting. Have you ever had a thought about somebody and then the next day they phone you? And what do we say? Oh, what a coincidence. I was just thinking of you. It wasn't a coincidence at all. There's no such thing in the world of physics and law. There's no such thing as a coincidence. There's just cause and effect. The cause was you put a thought out. That thought is omnipresent. It touches that person. They resonate with that. And that inspires something maybe on their conscious mind to say, you know what, I haven't thought about this person in a while. Let me pick up the phone and call them. They don't know what happened. They just react to the feeling, to the thought that's inspired by the feeling, just like the plant reacts to a thought inspired. So attraction, law of attraction, is about becoming aware of this and recognizing that your thoughts combined with your feelings, most important is the feeling. The thought without the feeling is worthless. The feeling without the thought has value. But if you put them together, you can create what you actually want to create, rather than random feelings or random thoughts. We put proper feelings and proper thoughts together, we can then act and we create. We're sending that message out to the universe and it's touching everything and everyone. So for instance, let's say money is something you want to attract. Money has an energy. Money is energy. And it's not like there isn't any money. I could walk out of this building and find one bank machine after the next, one bank after the next. There's money everywhere. There's money in your pocket. So it's not like money's not there. And if I'm connected to everything, then how do I attract that thing to me? What's the thought? What's the energy that I put into it? How do I work with this law so that I don't sit there hoping for something to happen and it doesn't happen, and then I blame it. I say, well, it doesn't work. I was hoping for it for 5 years and it never came. Hope? That's weak. Hope is for people who don't understand law. Hope is like, oh, please, God, help me. I'm a good person, really. Well, most of the time. Hope we can inspire in people, but you don't want to be hoping that something's going to happen. You want to be as a lawful creator creating it, taking responsibility for making it happen. That's our role. Most of the things that happen in our life we call by chance. But on some level, we put it out there and it came back. Let's go on with this. Take a look at this energy. Whoops, back up. You see that energy that's around that person? It's around the leaf and it's around a key. A key, an inanimate object. It's still energy. We can photograph this energy field now. We know it's real. So it's not make-believe. It's not woo-woo-woo-woo. It's real. This is science. It's hardcore science. Everything is energy and everything has the same source of energy. It's just vibrating at a different frequency. That's it. That's what separates them. They're just vibrating at a different frequency. Now, man can control what they think. Can a plant control what it thinks? Not likely. A plant is a plant and can't be anything other than a plant. But man can create. A plant can only create another plant. So what we were given when we were created in the likeness and image of the Creator was we were given the power of the Creator. That's what it means to be made in the likeness and image. The power of the Creator is to create. We were given the ability to create. But there is only one power, there's only one source, there's only one energy. So that source that makes everything possible is working with us and through us all the time. Are you happy with what you've created? Now, there may be some areas of your life that you're like, yeah, I really am happy with what I've created. But there may be some areas of your life that you're not so happy, and you want to expand or improve that situation. Well, rather than be a victim of thoughts that have been happening without your awareness, let's get conscious. Let's think about what we want to create, and let's focus on creating it, because we were given the ability to do that. You know what's so amazing about the mind? It can imagine anything. Your mind can imagine anything. I want you to imagine right here, standing right next to me. No, don't imagine. A pink elephant. Now, how many of you for a flash saw a pink elephant? How's that possible when you've never ever seen a pink elephant? But you saw it in your mind. That's how beautiful your mind is. Your mind can actually create what has never been seen, including a version of you haven't even seen yet. Is there a better version of you? Luis was talking about your best version of yourself. Is there a better version of you? Can you see a happier you? Can you imagine a healthier you? Can you imagine a you that has strong relationships and friendships? Can you imagine a you that doesn't worry about money, that doesn't make decisions based on money? Can you imagine it? Because it's going to have to start with that. You have to be able to first imagine it. And my mentor would say, if you can see it in your mind, you can hold it in your hand. So what is it that we got to get really good at? Imagining. Imagining. When you were a kid and you were sitting there in school and you were looking out the window imagining the future, did your teacher say to you, "Well done, Mike. Good job imagining the future. Well done"? Or did they say to you, "Get your head back over here, smack him"? So we're not really taught to be the Imagineers that we are, the engineers of imagination that we actually are. And we're not really taught that we can make that imagination become a reality through a lawful process without taking away from anyone. You know, I know as a kid growing up, you probably had all kinds of ideas about money. I don't know what your parents used to talk about. Maybe they argued about money. So maybe when you're a child playing in the backseat of your car and your parents were arguing about money, you got some idea somehow lodged in your system that money makes people angry and upset. And so somehow you've avoided money. It's in your frequency, it's in your vibration. And you don't even know it. You just, you need it, you want it, but you don't know what's working against you. But there it is, working against you. And it's something that happened before you could remember. Well, that's what's going on in life for a lot of people. These books were really influential for me. The Intention Experiment, The Hidden Messages in the Water, I was just showing you some pictures of that, and The Field by Lynn McTaggart. I actually met Lynn McTaggart, fascinating woman. And what she proved in those books is what scientists around the world, actually, she didn't prove it, she's an author and a reporter, and she aggregated, she brought all the information of the science and the research that was happening in the world from different parts of the world. There are scientists doing the same work, it seems, and she shows us what they're working on and what they've demonstrated. How many of you have seen this equation, I plus M equals R? Intention plus mechanism equals the results in our life. So what we intend, then we need a mechanism, a way to make the intention happen, produces the happening. You've seen that, right? How many of you are familiar with that? We do that in Humans Being More. Well, the true relationship is this. Because we know that if you have a clear intention of making something happen, you don't even need a mechanism. Because there's an infinite number of mechanisms. One will emerge. You can trust that one will emerge. And sometimes it comes from places you never expected. Somehow somebody comes into your life. Some situation comes into your life. You don't know how, but you know, thank you. Because the intention you had was very clear. And you trusted and had faith that somehow the mechanism would show up. So the real truth is I equals R. What we intend is what we create. Now you might say, no, Mike, I've been intending to be successful in Nikken. I've been intending to be a diamond for a long, long time. Okay, that's the intention you're using your mouth with. You're speaking that. But if I had a way of testing the frequency of your body, where your mind, your feelings, and your actions were concerned, would I see the same thing? Would I see a person who was genuinely intended on getting that job done? Or would I look at your calendar and, well, you know, I couldn't make that event because, you know, I had this going on, and, you know, I was thinking about going, and oh, yeah, I didn't do the ABC that I was supposed to do. Or do I have somebody who's thinking, you know, money is the root of evil? You know, I was taught money is the root of evil, right? So somehow in the subconscious mind, you've got this idea that money's not good for you, doesn't make people happy, so it's working against you. See, the intention is what creates our reality. So right now, what I can tell you is everything in your life you made happen. Every single situation, like it, love it, hate it, whatever, it was your doing. It wasn't somebody doing to you. It was your doing. When you accept that understanding based on the law, then what you now have been given is the key to change your life and the lives of others. If you don't accept that reality, you will somehow play victim all your life and be blaming somebody or some circumstance, the Mexican government, the president who's a liar, and blah, 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 whatever, for what's going on in your life. Somebody asked Bo a question. The question was, you know, what's it look like? You've been in business 20 years in Mexico. What's it going to look like the next 20 years? You tell me. You're inventing it. What's it going to look like? I can't answer that for you. I know what my next 20 years are going to look like. Do you know what your next 20 years are going to look like? So, is there a possibility? Is there an opportunity? What is this telling us? It's exactly what we invent. If we don't feel there's an opportunity, there's no opportunity. If we feel there's an opportunity and we act like there's one, there's an opportunity. We will invent that future. We will create something that we haven't seen before. Circumstance will arrive. That's just how it always works. It always comes down to intention. It always comes down to whether your thoughts, your feelings, and your actions are in alignment with what you say you want. So the first thing I would ask you is, do you know what you want? Do you know what you really want? Because if you don't know what you want, you're getting it, whatever you're getting, but is it what you want? Pay some time and some attention to what you really want life to bring you. What do you want to see on this? This is a beautiful theater. This is a screen here. And on this screen, we project life. We come in here, We sit down, and for an hour and a half, we pretend we're somebody else. Because our life isn't enough. So we want to experience other people's lives and other circumstances. Don't you find that fascinating, that we're so fascinated by the movies? Like, our life isn't complicated enough. We want to experience this guy's life, and then that person's life, and then this situation. And so we come to the theater to experience an hour and a half of some other life. It's amazing. But you don't have to do it in the theater. You can start imagining your life on the screen of your mind. And then instead of it being a theater where you walk out of here and return to the previous life, you get to walk out of this into the new life you've created for yourself. That's how it works. Whatever the mind of man can conceive and believe, can achieve. Napoleon Hill said that, and that was on my high school graduation book under my picture. They ask you, Mike, for a statement. If you get a high school book in Canada, they usually put a statement. So they'll put a picture of me, and my statement was that one. Kind of interesting that in high school I was saying those things, talking about Napoleon Hill, and here I am now, teaching those things. Kind of weird how that works, right? So let me give you a picture that my mentor Bob Proctor shared with the world. He says, imagine this is you, this is a human being, the lower part of this is the body, and up here is the mind, but the mind is not something that we can really see. We can see our brain, but our brain is not our mind. Our brain is just a switching station, it's a chemical reaction. But the thought, the consciousness, the mind, is something we can't really see, but we know there's a conscious one. I'm aware that I am here right now talking to you in my body. That's my conscious. On an unconscious level, I'm breathing. I don't have to tell myself, inhale, exhale, inhale, exhale. It's happening, the heart's beating. There's things happening in my unconscious mind without me thinking about it. And other things going on as well, like, do they like me? Do they even understand what I'm saying? Well, are they going to think I'm anti-something? Or that's all the subconscious feelings and programming, that's also working at the same time. So this picture gives us a really cool way of looking at how it works. So in our conscious mind, we create a thought. Our subconscious mind is where that thought has to get to for that thought to become a feeling. Because I could say, money. That's an idea. Now, what's the feeling you get with that word? Lots of money. What's the feeling you get? So it's not just the thought, it's the feeling. You got to get into the subconscious mind, these ideas. So then, it expresses in the body. When I feel something, love, I want you to, for a second, I just want you to close your eyes for a second, and I want you to see on the screen of your mind the person you love more than anything in the world. This is the one person who makes you everything. Okay, now I'm looking at your faces, you're all smiling. You see that? I didn't tell you to smile. But your body reacts to the feeling. That's how it works. And remember how the water gets changed by feeling, by thoughts, how your body gets changed, and how it affects people around you, situations around you, how a plant on the other side of the world can be affected. Okay? So it's important that we get alignment here, that our thoughts, our feelings, and our physical vibration, our body starts moving in the same direction to create the thing that we want to create. So now we have this infinite power that animates you. The spirit of you which animates you. The spirit of the whole, the eternal, infinite creator expressing itself through you. You are a conduit of this energy. You are an expression of the creator. Without the creator, you would not be animated. You wouldn't exist. So now, with that power, you can imagine anything. A pink elephant. What do you want to imagine with yourself? What do you want to experience in your life? Pay some attention to that. People spend more time planning a vacation than they do planning their retirement. Now, we want to then imagine that thing as if that thing was real. So imagine a state, a situation where your finances are concerned, that you're well off, or where your health is concerned. I want you to imagine it so vividly that you can actually feel it. And you haven't done the job until you feel it. You'll know you've done the job is when you feel it. When you connect the feeling to the thought, that's when you've done the job. If you're just thinking the thought and you're not feeling the feeling, you're not there. Keep working on it. Keep imagining. Keep making it real. Do it over and over and over and over and over until whatever was working against you has no chance. Keep repeating the idea until you finally feel it. When you feel it, you send out through your body a message to the universe, a broadcast. It's a signal that goes out, and everything that's connected to that feeling becomes drawn to you. It's called harmonic resonance. If I take a guitar here, and I have another guitar here, if I strum this guitar, this one starts to vibrate. That's called harmonic resonance. So if you are on a frequency vibrating, everything that's on that channel vibrating along with you is in harmony, is in resonance. It starts to be drawn together. Birds of a feather flock together. You start to draw to you. Now, if you change the vibration, well, you change the situation again. So it's not enough to create it. You want to hone it, hold it. You want to walk around life as if you are that person. You ever hear the expression, fake it until you make it? Good advice. Fake it so well that you believe it yourself. Be such a perfect actor. Right now you're all acting. You're all acting as if you are who you are. Aren't you? You're somebody's wife, you're somebody's husband, you're somebody's this, that. You're all acting a part. And we all know you all have a secret life, right? There's a secret part of you. Nobody knows about, only you. So we're acting. We're all putting on this act all the time. All the time. Well, go ahead. Act the part that I'm suggesting. The part that you want to experience. Act like the person you want to see in the mirror. Be that person. So, set a goal. Maybe that goal is Royal Diamond. Act. Start to think and act like a Royal Diamond. There are Royal Diamonds in this room. Have you not had any time with them? Have you spent some time with them? You know you should. Take them out to lunch. Offer to buy them dinner. My father taught me that. Always take the people that you want to know out to dinner. Even if it's the last dollar you have in your pocket, spend it. It's good money invested. So you invite the people you want to get to know, because you want to get to know what they think like, how they, what's the vibe? I need to get into the vibe of this Royal Diamond, because there's a vibe. They're not the same person, they're all different, but there's a vibe that comes off of these people that, if I can connect to that vibe, then I'll know how it feels, and then I can start pretending that I'm it and start feeling it. And then I draw to myself the elements, all the things that are necessary to become it. That's how it works. Now, here's the problem. As you imagine being a Royal Diamond, what else is starting to feel going on inside, right? It's a good idea. If you were a Royal Diamond, what would you do? Who would you help? How would you live? Well, what would you be able to look in the mirror and wake up in the morning and say, there's thousands of people in my network across the globe who are making a difference, and I started that process because of the decision I made and the commitment that I made. You feel amazing. I can tell you, as a Royal Diamond, I feel amazing being a Royal Diamond because I know that even if I stop this moment today, the effect will last for generations in you and others. So, there's positive, but there's also something else going on inside of you. Mike, I've been in Nikken 5 years. Mike, I've been in Nikken 10 years. Mike, I'm new to Nikken, I don't know. There's all of the negative stuff that are sitting there in the subconscious mind working against you. And the problem is we can't get this to work right until we get rid of the red. it has to be blue, all in. You got to be blue, all in. You can't have the blue and the red information going out because you're telling the universe, yes, this is what I am. No, this is what I'm not at the same time. And so the universe is saying, I can't read you. I don't get you. It was like talking to the plant. Come on, get scared, come on. It knows it's not real. It doesn't react. The universe reacts to real. So the intention, the vibration, the frequency has to be real. So how do we get there? How do I deal with all those red things? And the answer is one simple word that you've heard at Sunday school. Faith. Now, I'm not talking faith, God, please bestow some light upon me because I'm really trying my best. I'm praying every night and I'm saying all the right things. No, that's not what we're talking about. That's not faith. That's not faith. Faith is not something. Faith is in your heart. Faith is you either have it or you don't. You're either in faith or you're in fear. Which one is it? Fear is I don't know if it's going to happen. Doubt. Faith annihilates all doubt. So faith is a vibration. Faith is a frequency. Faith is, I don't care what I imagine is possible because I'm endowed with that ability as a co-creator. The power that creates everything is creating me and is creating through me. And all I have to do is direct that power and know that that power is always there, operating. The law is the law. It's always operating. It's always attracting. So I can have faith because I know there's a law at work. And it doesn't play favorites. It doesn't play favorites. It's always at work. So with faith, I can imagine the Royal Diamond business that I dreamed of. And therefore, I can act, feel that it's coming. It's on its way because the moment I imagine it and I start to connect to it in my heart, the feeling of it, then I'm touching all the people who are going to become part of my network that make that possible. And I can give you example upon example. Ask some of these Royal Diamonds if there wasn't these miracles that seem to happen. Like, wow, I can't believe that happened. But now you can believe that happened because it doesn't even matter what you believe. The law still works. Even if you don't believe this is true. Okay, go ahead. Don't believe gravity. Step off a 10-story building. Let's see how your belief works. The law is the law. It doesn't matter what you believe. That's what's so amazing about it. It's always been working, whether you believe it or not. But if you start to apply it, you'll be able to create whatever you want. So, there you go. Your attitude. How many of you have heard of I can? I can. We talk about that in our mentoring curriculum. I can attitude, where your thoughts, your feelings, and your actions are all consistent. They're all positive. They're all in the same direction. The only thing you need to guard against is anybody or anything that takes you away from that. So, we have a saying at I can. I don't do negative. Say that. I don't do negative. Sorry, I don't do negative. People want to come to you and complain all day long, especially if you let them. Sorry, I don't do negative. Sorry, I don't do negative. Well, how does it serve you or them if you entertain ideas that are in contradiction to what you're trying to manifest? How does it serve? It serves no one. I was reading a book the other day, kind of an interesting idea. A magnet. We're in the magnet business. What is a magnet? It's a piece of steel for the most part. Most magnets are made out of steel. Ours, I think, are ceramic. But let's stay with the idea of steel. That steel rod, okay? It's steel. It's a magnet. It has a north pole, south pole. It has a magnetic field, and it can attract things, right? A magnet is attractive. It can attract things by its magnetic field. Now, if I had a steel rod that looked exactly the same, but it wasn't magnetized, would you still call it a steel rod? Yes. Would it still be made of the same material as the magnet? Yes. Would it be attractive? No. What's different between this steel rod and this steel rod? In this steel rod, all the molecules, all the atoms are aligned, creating a unified field. Whereas over here, they're all over the place. The field this way, that way, they cancel each other out. This is the human state of most people. Your ideas are canceling themselves out because you think positive 1 minute, negative the next. Try and get to be the magnet where the alignment of your thoughts, your feelings, and actions are all the same. And you'll start attracting things into your life like magic. But it isn't magic. It's the law. So just understand why some people aren't getting what they want is because they're operating like here. Their thoughts are all over the place. They're scattered. They're emotional highs and lows. They have no discipline in terms of their thoughts, their feelings, and their actions. So guard your thoughts, your feelings, and your actions. When people want to take them away from you, those positive feelings and thoughts, sorry, I don't do negative. Turn the news off. That's the first thing you got to dismiss. The news is designed to keep you in this state, and I'm telling you, designed on purpose. The people who are running the world are operating like this. By law. Not because they're crooks or they're whatever. And they may be crooks. I told you it's not a moral thing. But they are using the law in their favor, and they may be using the law against you by distracting you with all the noise that they distract you with, so it takes you away from your purpose. What is your purpose? What do you want? Start to think, feel, and act like that person. Be truthful and faithful to that person. That's what it means to have faith. It means I'm going to be faithful to this person. From now on, I'm going to be faithful to the image of the person I want to see myself as. Abundant, wealthy, productive, attractive, with a lot of people in my organization, with a pin on my lapel. Be faithful to that image in your mind, that construction in your mind. Be faithful to that, and you will see it. You will see it. It's the law. It's not because I'm telling you. I had an idea that I was going to become a Royal Diamond in 5 months. I had been a diamond for I don't know how many years. In fact, I became a diamond in Mexico. I broke the last silver in Mexico when I became a diamond in 22 months from when I started in Nikken. And then there was this long period of time where I was a diamond. And I only imagined myself as a diamond. And it's really odd because in our compensation plan, there's more ranks. There's a Royal Diamond, right? And there were other Royal Diamonds in Nikken. So I don't know why I stopped myself from being a Royal Diamond or seeing myself as a Royal Diamond. I think it had to do with my upline was kind of like my father figure. And so somehow I imagined them to be here and me here, in my own mind. And so I never saw myself as being where they are. And so on some level, I was blocking myself from being where they are. And I never set a goal to go Royal Diamond. Until one day, I'm in a seminar called The Science of Getting Rich with Bob Proctor. And don't ever be in a seminar with Bob Proctor and not be prepared to do something. In front of everybody, half that room was in my organization. He says, "Hey, Mike, what's your goal for Royal Diamond?" Oops. I don't have one, Bob. What? Well, we're going to have to change that right now. And so he made me write a goal down. And he says, "Well, Mike, you know, if it's not scary, it's not a goal. It's not big enough. It's got to be big. It's got to be scary." So I started thinking about it and thought, there's a date, has special meaning to me, September 27th. My mother's birthday. 5 months away. For me to generate this silvers, I would need 15 silvers on my second level. Now, those of you in Nikken know that is 15 silvers on my second level in 5 months. Like, put a gun to your head. You might as well kill yourself now. So, okay, so I'm going to do that. That's the goal. I'm going to write it down. And it's scary, it's big, it's huge. And I just thought, you know what? I am going to prove to myself once and for all that when Jesus said, "Whatever you ask for and you pray for, ask as though you have received it and you shall receive it," I'm going to prove that that's the truth or it's a lie. So let me repeat that. Whatever you ask for and ye pray for whatever you think in your thoughts and feel in your heart. That's what he's talking about. Ask as though you already have received it. How would you do that? How would you ask for something you already have? What's the first words that might come out of your mouth? Thank you. Attitude of gratitude. The attitude of gratitude. That's a powerful vibration. The spirit and the attitude, the vibration of gratitude. I am grateful for what I have received. So I am so thankful and I am so thrilled and filled with the joy and satisfaction to have, what does it say? Completed my objective of Royal Diamond with 3 platinums and 3 diamond front line. That's the attitude of gratitude. If I say that enough times, and I really put my feeling into it, and I start to imagine what it feels like to be on stage, being rewarded, being recognized as that person, I get excited. My vibe goes. That's the attitude of gratitude. Powerful. Whatever you ask for and you pray for, ask as though you have received it, and you shall receive it. So there's what I'm responsible for, and there's what God's responsible for. What I'm responsible for, and what God's responsible for. God being the bigger picture, the bigger mind, the bigger consciousness. What I'm responsible for is what I have to hold in my consciousness, my thoughts and my feelings and my actions of being a Royal Diamond, as if I'm already a Royal Diamond. What God's responsible for, the connections, the people, the situations that will fall in my way to make it all happen. In 5 months. Go for it. That's what I decided. I was going to go for it. So, I had my mentor, Bob Proctor, sign it. You can see his signature at the top. I had my upline sign it on the bottom. So I started to live as if that was the reality of my life. Done. It was Edison, New Jersey, was where the big event was going to be in that 5th month, and I was going to be recognized on stage as a Royal Diamond. So I was already imagining it. On the back side of my card, this is what we call a goal card. I carried it in my pocket everywhere. On the flip side of that card, I wrote something. You see what I wrote? Faith of a mustard seed. Another big biblical thing that Jesus said. If you have but the faith of a mustard seed, you could say to that mountain, move, and that mountain will move. That's what he said. So faith is the thing that cancels doubt. Faith is a vibration. So I put that on the backside to remind me in case I got lost, in case I had one of those doubts creep in case I had one of those negative people show up. I would remind myself, Mike, your job is this. God's job is this. Bob Proctor would say, Mike, why are you worried about how it's going to happen? He says, you're not going to know how it's going to happen until it's already happened, and you look back and you say, oh, that's how it happened. So don't worry about it. Just know that everything is now in motion. You set it all in motion with your intention. And your dedication, your commitment, and your faith to it is set it in motion. Period. And so, by the way, 6 o'clock, September 26th, 6 hours ahead of schedule, I walked up on stage in Edison, New Jersey, not yet a Royal Diamond. At the back of the room was my platinum consultant, my soon-to-be platinum consultant, my cousin, on the phone making phone calls with Bob Proctor doing ABC calls. He ran up at the side of the stage and did one of these. And that's when I knew he was platinum, I was Royal Diamond, and I got to announce it on stage. 5 months. 6 hours ahead of schedule. It was this experience that I allowed myself permission to be able to do what I'm doing right now. To be able to speak with authority. I've since gone further and studied and learned and got the science behind it to understand that it's not just woo, not words in a book, but real hardcore science. This is the reality of the nature of reality. I'm not sure why this is not working here. There we go. So, faithful is my state of being. We want to act like somebody who's going someplace. We want to act like somebody who's already there. Put those two together, and here's the only other thing I got to caution you with. There's the time that you conceive the idea and you're living the idea every day. No matter what's coming at you, you're living the idea. There's a gap in time before that idea is manifested. When I plant a seed in the ground, it doesn't bring me fruit the next day. It takes time for it to grow. We call that the law of gender. It's a law. Can you imagine if that law didn't exist? Every thought you thought happened instantly? Can you imagine how crazy this world would be if every one of you had a thought right now? Pink elephant, we'd have 500 pink elephants in the room. So that law is there to protect us and govern our reality. But you have to know it exists. That will give you the calmness that you need to keep walking, knowing that there's the planting of the seed and there's the reaping of the harvest, and they're not the same day. Now, I don't know how long it's going to take you to get the job done of whatever you've imagined. Every idea has its own law of gestation. But you can accelerate it. How you accelerate something coming into manifestation, coming into being, is by the degree of your faithfulness. If you are truly on point, where your thoughts, your feelings, and actions are unchallenged, unrivaled, somebody doesn't get to take that away from you. You are like a bullet. You know, working with Veronica, she's exactly what I'm talking about. When she gets an idea in her head, forget about it. It's done. You can count on it. Some of you know that, right? So, that's what I'm talking about. I'm talking about someone who has discipline, where when they get an idea, they get fixated on an idea. That's it. The decision is made one time, not every other day. I gotta do. No, you make the decision one time and you commit to that decision one time, and you live as if that decision was a reality, and you make that reality a reality. That's how it works. This is not a mystery. It's not a secret, even though they made a movie about it. They called it The Secret. Not a secret. So, who are you being? When you look in the mirror, who are you being? Are you being afraid, hoping to survive life? I just hope to get through today. I just hope to get through this week. I just hope to get through this month. Or are you living life? We're not meant to survive. We were not born to survive. We were born to thrive. That's what we were born to do. We're born to thrive. Imagine that. God's creation on earth trying to survive. How pathetic. You know what I'm talking about. You get this, don't you? You were meant for greatness. Every single human being was meant for greatness because you came in great. You were born great. Everything is already residing within you to manifest. All you have to do is tune to the frequency. You know, in this room right now is every radio station in Mexico playing all the songs that they're playing. Every one of them is right here, right now. Right in this corner of my finger here. All the music of Mexico is happening right now. Now, you know how I know that? If I got a radio and I held it in my hand right here and I started turning the dial, what would I hear? One station after the next. I would hear it. All I need is a mechanism to tune in to the frequency that's here already right now in this room. It's not somewhere else, it's here, now. Well, that version of you that we're talking about is already here right now. Every version of you is happening all at the same time. The one you get to see on the screen of your life is the one that you're tuned to, the channel you're on. If you don't like that version of you, change the station. Change the channel. Start to look and see a different version of you. Start to imagine a different version of you. Start to listen to that frequency, listen to that song, listen to those words, and not the words that contradict that. And you will start to experience that person. You will then know you have that person when you feel you are that person. And the second you feel you are that person, not a single human being on the planet will not feel it too. There will be those, we call them family and friends, who try and challenge you because you know what? They like the old version. They know the old version. They don't want the new version. They want the old version. That's the version they know. You're making it hard for them now. You're changing their world. They don't like the world that you're creating for yourself because it changes their world. So they might fight you on this. No, go back to being what you are. No, don't do this Nikken business. It's making you too popular. It's making you too whatever. You know, you're never home. You got to decide if you're living your life or you're living somebody else's life. You're going to live your version of you or somebody else's version of you. That's a decision you have to make. No one can make it for you. Make it one time. And then you won't let those distractions bother you anymore. And by the way, if they don't like it, it's okay. What will happen is those friendships will dissolve and new ones will emerge that reinforce and support the person you are. You know, my dad used to say, in fact, it's a statistical truth, that if you average the income of the 5 closest friends of yours, that's your income. It's the income of the 5 closest friends. So you want to get rich? Get some new friends. There's a bunch of Royal Diamonds in the room. You get to know their names. You know, you get to find out what they like to eat and invite them to lunch. Do that. It's smart on you. One last thing here. It doesn't have to take a long time. There's this thing called compounding. It's amazing. And Luis was talking about choices, making smart choices. You know, choosing. That's what we're talking about. The law of attraction is just being conscious of what you're choosing. The thoughts you're choosing. How you choose to feel about those thoughts. You're deciding that, nobody else. So here's how it works. Your choices become your behavior and your habits. And when you make good choices with consistency, over time, it creates a huge change in your life. So you don't have to make a big change in your life to make a big change in your life. It doesn't have to be that way. It's just a simple change, but over a period of time with consistency creates a big change. I'll give you a simple example of this in Nikken. You start drinking good, clean water in Nikken, and you're going to start to see the benefits of that. It may not be noticeable immediately, but then eventually you're going to like, wow, I noticed my gums don't bleed anymore. That's what happened to one of my customers. After a month, they noticed their gums don't bleed anymore when they brush their teeth, just by drinking the Nikken water. Stuff like that happens. You get on a Nikken sleep system, and you start sleeping a little bit better every day. Yeah, it may not be the huge thing to write home about, but with a period of time, you're going to find your friends are aging a lot faster than you are. True story. And so that's what we're talking about. We're talking about smart choices made with consistency every day that lead to a big difference in your life. And in this case, it's about 10,000 hours or about 27 months. I went diamond in 22 months. I made my first $1 million in Nikken in 27 months. I'd never made $1 million before. In fact, my biggest income for a year was $29,000. So, can you go from very little to a whole lot? Yes, you can. Just by applying the law. It's not a mystery, and it's not specific to any one person. It works for everybody the same way, just like gravity. But you have to be the one in control. You're the one who gets into the car. You're the one who gets behind the steering wheel, and you're the one who makes those choices. The car works perfectly. Life works perfectly. The law of attraction works perfectly. Nikken works perfectly. You just got to get behind the wheel and start driving like you mean it. Like it's really taking you through life. And it's not a dress rehearsal. So, focus. What do you want? Decide to go after it. And then just do it. Know where you're going. Know that you'll get there. That's really what faith is all about, right? And that's all I have to say.
questions for you.
Oh.
Thank you, Mike. We have questions for you.
Okay.
The first one is, how to prospect successfully?
How to prospect successfully?
Yes.
Okay, that's a broad subject. Let me define prospecting. Prospecting is the art of interviewing someone without them knowing you're interviewing them. That means you're asking questions. So a successful prospecting scenario would be you're doing a lot of questions and listening a lot to the answers. That would be prospecting. If you're talking about yourself, about what you're doing, and so you're not in prospecting mode, you're in presenting mode. So prospecting is the gift of being able to learn about somebody else, find out who they are, what makes them tick, what of those 5 pillars of health might be out of balance, what about what they aspire for in their life, what they really want out of life. If you can extract that information from somebody, that's prospecting. Then you move from prospecting mode into invitation, not presentation. People go from barely prospecting straight into presentation mode. That's not how it's done. Prospecting is getting to know the person. Invitation is asking the person if they might be interested in getting to know a little bit more about what you think might be of interest to them now that you know them a little better. And if they're yes with that, then you can move into presentation mode, which is then tell your Nikken story and share the benefits.
Okay. Did you believe in network marketing before Nikken?
Was I in network marketing? Yes. I was in a company for 12 months. They sold water filters and air filters as a product. It was mostly a recruiting machine. They were extremely skillful, very, very skillful. I learned a lot from them. But where I found success was in selling product. That was the only thing I could make any money at, not sponsoring or recruiting anybody, because I thought that the idea was kind of tired. Anyway, so my first month in Nikken, I was able to generate in my first month what it would have taken me 6 months as an electrician to earn. And so I went from being somebody who could barely make it work to somebody who was making it work big time. And what changed? The opportunity. I connected. There was a question that was asked of Bo, and I wanted to answer that question. And what I can recall was something about falling in love with the idea. When you fall in love with an idea, when your feelings are involved, when you fall in love with an idea, you have a lot better chance of making that idea a reality because your heart's in it. So the people in Nikken who've done really, really well are some of the finest people I've ever seen on the entire planet because they are people who genuinely care about people. They fell in love with the idea of making a difference. And even through the hard times, they never lost touch with that. That's what makes them special, that they really are connected to you as a people. They're not just sitting there for self-interest. So I think Nikken people are some of the most incredible people in the world.
Have you ever worried about market saturation?
Never. Ever, never, ever, ever, never worry about market saturation. It's a fallacy. Doesn't exist. Let me give you an example. I started my Nikken business 24.5 years ago in Toronto. Now, it's like a pebble. You take a pebble and you drop it in a pond. What happens? Right? First there's a splash, and then there's the ripple effect. Now, after a little while, you can still see those ripples going out, right? But when you look back at the center, the water's calm. So now, if you come to Canada, especially where I live, Toronto, you would think Nikken doesn't exist. You'd be hard-pressed to find anything Nikken right now in Toronto, even though it's been there for 24.5 years. The waves are all over the place, Mexico and so forth. But now it's time to drop another pebble, get another wave started. So what's happened in 24 years? Well, 20-year-olds have become 44 years old. When you're 20, you don't think much about the future of health and so forth. But when you're in your 40s and you got a family, you do. So I have a whole new market that's emerged in that time. What's happened in the last 24 years in the health world? Well, now people are rejecting traditional medicine and they're looking for alternative medicine. They want to know what we have. That's what's changed. So the opportunities become better for me rather than worse for me. How many people are involved in the products? You measure the success of a company not by how many people are selling the products. You measure the success of a company by how many people are using the products. That means the market. What's our market penetration is the more important question than what's our market saturation, because there's no such thing as saturation. How many companies are still selling stuff today? How many new stuff? Does Nikken not invent stuff all the time? Every time Nikken comes out with a new product, it's a whole new market. Every single person is a whole new market. There's not a single customer. We can go create 300 million customers just with that new product. So there's never a point where you're saturation. All you have is the tides. They come and they go. They come and they go. The next batch of leaders come and some retire. That happens too in Nikken. People leave. They don't always stay focused on one thing. Sometimes Nikken gives them the opportunity to explore other things, and they do. Nikken was a means to an end for them. So there's a constant cycle in life. Real estate, you name it, cars, whatever. There's cycles, and they keep. So you just want to just be part of any one of those cycles and be a big part of it.
What would you do if you have lots of people in your business that don't work?
What would I do if I have loads of people in my business that don't work? I'd probably go find loads of people in my business that do work. I don't focus on what doesn't work, I focus on what's working. We don't do negative. But by the way, that doesn't mean I don't communicate. I communicate with everybody, but I only work with the workers.
Bob, how did you train and duplicate?
How did I train? Well, first of all, on-the-job training is always the best. I find that no matter what I say to somebody, when they see me in action, that's when they really get it. So I can say, okay, so, here's an example. Every situation is unique. Every human being is unique. So I can say this, but to that person it may be the wrong thing to say, and I don't know until I'm in that situation. So rather than me give you a formula and say, okay, go out, what I give you is principle. I teach principles. And then the best way to learn is for you to actually watch those principles in action. So when you see me reacting on a phone call, I do a lot of ABC calls, that's where people really get to learn what I say, how I think, how I interpret the information, why I ask so many questions, and so forth. On the job is the best way for training. When you're talking about large organizations, then the other thing that I did is I employed a thing called the rhythm of the business. The rhythm of the business is the key to managing the growth of a large organization. And what the rhythm of the business is the daily events lead to the weekly events. The weekly events lead to the monthly events. The monthly events lead to the quarterly events. Quarterly events lead to the semi-annual events, and the semi-annual events lead to the annual events. So there's always a schedule of events that you can move people into, and each event moves people further along their understanding and their belief. Thank you.
Thank you, Mike. No, don't go. We would like to thank you and thank Bo. Could you please come, and Luis, our speakers. We have a little something for you in gratitude to your being here. Pero acá con Mike. And we're very happy to have you. This is a treat. This is a real pleasure. So Team Hachidori would like to thank you for coming to Mexico, for being our speakers at the event, and for teaching all that you teach to us.